Oh, this thing just keeps getting messier and messier, and this is about the 16th take I've done because it looks like my camera wants to drop frames. Motorola, you built a really, really bad product. Anyway, so the last video I filmed was very basic. It was just demonstrating that I'd added some EEPROM routines into the code because one of the things I wanted to do in mimicking the operation of the Denon was the fact that these mechanical switches don't lose their position when you turn the unit off. So yeah, doing it in the EEPROM was the easiest and cheapest solution, except I didn't want to constantly write to the EEPROM and wear the address out every time you change an input. So I came up with this guy in the back. Actually, this is not the final design. This is just a wonderful hack. But basically what I've got over here is I've got a 10,000 microfarad capacitor. I've got a external power supply coming in on these lines. This power supply is plugged into the switched outlets on my Denon. The Arduino itself, as well as the infrared sensor and the switch matrix, are connected to the capacitor side of the 5-volt line, and the relays, the 2803 and the 595 and the display are powered by this side, the input, and there's a diode in there, and I'm using the diode to just prevent the electronics on the input side from pulling from the capacitor. The idea is that I'm going to monitor the input power on pin 2 of the Arduino, which is currently programmed as a hardware interrupt. So on the falling edge, when you turn the power supply off, it will go ahead and run the routines to update the EEPROM. That way, if you don't change inputs, you don't write anything. And, you're not writing every time you change an input. So I'm going to demonstrate this by powering the Denon on. And everything will come to life. And as you can see, we're in auxiliary, which is where I left it. I had to disable the tape 1 switch. There's a problem. I've got noise. I've got an issue. It just constantly wants to switch back to tape 2. Or that's the tape. Yeah, that is the tape 2 button. Constantly wants to switch back to tape 2. Tape 1's fine, but tape 2 doesn't work very well because this is a mess. This is a literal mess, and I've got noise, and I've got connection issues. And it doesn't surprise me that there's transients screwing everything up. But I'll fix that, excuse me. I will fix that in the last edition. What I wanted to demonstrate was this. So I powered the Denon off, and the power supply has died. It's very hard to see. The light has gone out. So hopefully when I turn this back on, now that I've disabled the button for tape 2, it'll power back up right at tape 1 where I left it. So no matter how many times I push the button now, it won't write to the EEPROM until it detects the power off. And we'll let it wait for a minute because the cap takes a long time to discharge. And I'll power it back up. And it's right back where I left it. So the idea is that if you're the kind of person who barely uses your stereo, you'll probably make fewer than 2 updates a day, and at about 100,000 writes, lifetime, you'll probably look at about 100 years. So, I don't think I need to worry about burning out the address in the EEPROM. Anyway, sorry for this horrible video. Once again, I have spent way too long debugging this, because getting this to work in this configuration, I still have problems. I have bugs to figure out, but the proof of concept is there, so when I get the power supply designed a little bit better, and I can get everything debugged and figure out why it kept wanting to default to tape 2, that'll work. I've also, I don't know if I burned the LED out, but the LED that flashes for the data on the remote sensor doesn't work anymore, or it's very dim. And I've actually got that tied to the main, the 5 volts that's powering the Arduino, so I'll have to look into why that's not working. But it still accepts commands very nicely with no problem. I can still select my... Oh, I took that one out of code completely. I can't select tape 2 because I don't have the code written that way anymore. Alright, well anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for tolerating. Hopefully the video looks better on the computer than it does on the phone. Looks like it's dropping a bunch of frames. Can't do anything about the shakiness. I've had a lot of caffeine. So, yeah, there we go. This is running software 0.2.0. That's literally already built into the code. I'm going to update the schematics, probably with the note indicating that it's not a final hardware revision. But it does seem to work. And it does seem to work quite well. So anyway, yeah, I got a little more work to do, and I still got to buy the proper relays and build a prototype and actually hook it into this puppy so I can see how badly it's going to hum. It has hum now, which is ground loop from a preamp sitting here that I need to cut open and fix. Anyway, that's all for this evening. Hope you guys have a good week. And I will hopefully show you a more organized version built on a single piece of perf board that does not look like it's about ready to fly into a million pieces.